Greetings. My name is Paul Harris. I'm privileged to serve as pastor of Victory Church of Charlottesville, where we exist to see people reconciled to God and to each other. And I want to open up this video by talking about why we have victory groups at Victory Church. There are two pointed reasons that I want to share. The first is we need each other. Simply put, the Apostle Paul, in writing a letter to the church at Corinth, which was made up of people from all different walks of life, he's addressing a number of different issues. But in chapter 12, verses 12 through 17, he's speaking particularly to how they need each other as a part of the body of Christ. And he says this: just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentile, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. Now, if the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? Again, we need each other. And the temptation for all of us is to say, if we're an ear, say to the nose, you need to hear better. And the nose to the ear, no, you need to smell better. We tend to, in our strengths, to see those as weaknesses in others. But the reality, as Apostle Paul is saying to the church at Corinth, which extends to us today, is that we need each other. And in victory groups, we get to practice. We get to practice. Yes, I'm talking about practice. We get to grow with other people, growing in our capacity to reconcile with others. Just as we were reconciled unto Jesus Christ, and now he gives us that ministry of reconciliation, we get now to work it out. And we need each other for that. Secondly, we grow in community. Again, the Apostle Paul, writing a letter to the church at Ephesus, says this in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 16. From him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. So from him, speaking of Christ, we are all held together. And as we do, as God has uniquely wired us to do, we help all of us to grow. And so we are literally better together. We need each other and we grow in community. Now, at Victory Church, we have a calendar, if you will, that we follow throughout the year. We have 3 different sessions. We have a fall session, a winter session, and a spring session. Each of those sessions last about 10 to 12 weeks with a week or 2 break in between. And we do that for a number of reasons. One, we believe self-care is important. So there are a couple of weeks in between each session for the leaders and the group members to just recharge and refresh and to come back ready for some more. 2, it also allows for an easy on and off ramp for group participants. Maybe you're new and you feel some apprehension about joining a group midway through, though that is completely fine with us. Having those breaks in between sessions gives you an opportunity for a cleaner on-ramp to that group experience. And if you find that a group may not be the right fit, maybe it's too long a drive, maybe you don't like the food they prepare, whatever it is, it gives you an off-ramp to say, gosh, this was great. I really learned and I grew, and I think I'm going to find something closer to where I live. Or I just got married. I think I'm going to find a couples group. Or I'm in college now. I think I want to get into a group that's just with college students. For whatever reason, you have an off-ramp that's a bit more seamless now to make that transition. Now, during the summertime, we have, after the spring session, we have, again, a break, but we try to curate spaces for other short-term special topics groups. And let me back up from that for just a moment, though I'll come back to it. All of those sessions, fall, winter, and spring, most of those groups are going to be sermon-based groups. And that means that each of the weekly discussions will stem from Sunday's sermon. And there are 5 key questions that guide those moments. One is, as you reflect on the sermon from the past week, what one principle or insight stands out as being particularly helpful, insightful, or difficult to grasp? Secondly, did the sermon text raise any questions for you? 3, where do you see Jesus Christ in the sermon text from this past week? What helped you to see more of Jesus and his cross, or what moved you to love him more? 4, what does your obedience to the sermon text look like? Identify and commit to something specific enough that you can do this week. And 5, who do you know who might benefit from hearing what you've seen in the sermon text? And how might you share the joy, peace, and or conviction that you've been given by God with them? Those are the 5 questions that guide or at least serve as a launching pad for conversations for each of the victory groups every single week. And there are 3 reasons that we have chosen for sermon-based groups to be our primary avenue in this space. 1, it increases educational impact. If you've ever been in a workshop or have taken a class, when you take those notes and you go home and you look over those notes, the likelihood then of that material sticking with you and being applied goes up exponentially. And so having groups that then go back over and through the notes allows for that preached word and the sermon text itself, the Bible, to become more a part of us and to be more likely then to be applied in our lives on an everyday basis. It increases educational impact. Secondly, it's accessible to all. Wherever you find yourselves, maybe you've been walking with Jesus Christ for 30 years, or maybe you are just checking out faith with Jesus. Maybe you're even skeptical about faith in Jesus Christ. Wherever you find yourselves, these questions are questions that we can all answer and we can all engage in a meaningful way. It also allows for, if you have perhaps missed that Sunday service, it allows you to then listen to the podcast prior to group so that you can come in just as ready as the next person. Again, wherever you fall on the spectrum in terms of your knowledge of the Bible and your history in your relationship with Jesus Christ. Doesn't matter. It's accessible. And lastly, it sharpens our church-wide focus. So while we have all of these different groups across the church meeting, across the city, that is, in homes or coffee shops or online, however those groups might be meeting, it allows for all of us to also be on the same page. So the word is meeting us where we are. We're engaging it from the spaces where we are, applying it to our lives where we are as college students, as women, as men, as married couples, as senior citizens. Wherever you find yourselves, you get to discuss in those small groups where you are and how the word is hitting you. And yet it allows us as a church to continue moving forward together under the same vision, which is here at Victory, seeing people reconciled to God and to each other. So those are the 3 reasons why sermon-based studies are our primary avenue for our victory groups. It increases educational impact, it's accessible to all, and it sharpens our church-wide focus. And so again, as I referenced during the summer months, we try to do some more special topic groups that are perhaps short-term in nature. It could be anything from marriage groups to Financial Peace University to some other book studies. And we even open that up for new leaders who want to try out leading, who may not want to commit to that full year, but just want to try something out for the summer. That's a chance for you to do that. It can be an activity group, and it's just a way for us to, again, take a break from the traditional format, increase accessibility to others who may not have been a part of a group. It's flexible enough for summer plans to be what they need to be for families, and it just allows us to mix up the ways in which we fellowship and grow in our community. And so if you are interested in learning more or perhaps even leading a group, please go to our website, victorycville.org. You can complete a Connect card and fill out there the questions you have or connect with the appropriate entities through that Connect card. And again, as we always pray for all of us every single day, let's live in victory.